was getting worried.
It just takes a while to update the description and stuff. So we should be back on.
All right, so I'll wait till we come on because this might be a good question for everybody, especially those that have done it before. I probably should have done it when Jamal was here. Oh.
Okay.
But it's really cool that Stevie has a mic. I can hear her. She doesn't sound like the cars. Life's the same. Moving in stereo. Life's the same. Jumping my shoes. She doesn't know what that is. But it's like, that's cool.
Okay. I guess hopefully everything's.
We're back up on YouTube.
Okay.
We're back. Okay, I'll make it quick. So I'm thinking of starting a commentation or a YouTube, but I know it's not going to be as long as you guys. It'll probably be like 3 minutes. I'm looking through YouTube and try to figure out how it all works, and then I downloaded what's this called, the Windows video helper or something like that. So I'm trying to think if I should actually do what you guys are doing. I think I have something to add. That's all. I think I can help.
Go for it.
I thought about doing a web series called "What You Should Be Pissed About," and it would just highlight all the different things that nobody's aware of that they should be really angry about right now.
Oh, yeah, you should go with Eric on that. Trigger. What makes people trigger?
But not just that though, because people would then get depressed. So I'd have, here's what you should be angry about, and then here's what you can do to fix it.
I guess.
No. I like the first thing. Actually, like that's something you could just a model you can keep doing and keep like going to for a bit. I don't know. That's maybe like if you had that and other things, then it wouldn't all be depressing.
Like, you know what's good to be angry is right before you're gonna do a workout. So that could be like a workout, pre-workout segment. Get people motivated. They get some extra strength from being angry and just take it out on their workout.
Testosterone.
You know what grinds my gears? When you go and you get one of those bags of bread that's got the bag inside the bag, and you got to open it up somehow, and then each piece of bread is a pain in the ass to pull out. That grinds my gears.
Yeah, I've basically replaced my morning coffee with the news because, like, I just watch that and I'm just like, holy shit, I'm awake. Gotta go fight this.
It's probably not healthy though.
All right, so
last night my pain level was high, so I didn't sleep all night. And it happens every time. Daytime, morning starts breaking. I make some coffee. I drink 1 cup of coffee. I go right to sleep.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in Anything Goes is kind of a deep topic. It's about measurement of time that we use as humans.
Time is a human-made construct, man.
Mm-hmm. So now, I don't know what the current latest definition of a second is. Snort, do you know? Because I think it used to be like 9,000 oscillate, or like a billion or so oscillate, or a couple billion oscillations of the cesium atom. There's others where it's like the radiation, I don't know, decay or something like that.
That's atomic time.
The meter is the one that just changed.
The meter.
Yeah, the second, I believe, is still a number of vibrations.
Okay. Now, and it's based off of like at least a billion oscillations of the cesium atom. It's like, how are there any fluctuations of oscillations of an atom?
Yeah.
There are. Like, so the span of a second can differentiate, or we just pick that specific.
The reason there's so many in the standard is it gives you a little bit of room to average.
Okay.
What's the need to focus on the second? for I mean, besides out of like GPS or something. Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sure there's tons of reasons. I'm sorry, but I mean, out of like technical, highly. I mean, why is I'm just saying it's arbitrary. It seems arbitrary to me to focus on the second.
Well, we have everything on in seconds, in minutes, and hours, and days, and weeks, and months, and then I don't know, seasons, and then like half years, decades, and then centuries. I mean, it just always breaks down into those big wide gaps. But then, like for example, you've got a typical banana, okay, and it's just on a table, and you've got a banana that's in a brown paper bag. The banana in the brown paper bag is gonna age a lot faster. Hi, Rob. And so the time is the same, but the factors within it cause it to ripen faster. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the banana that was in the brown bag got older faster. Because time is just the same for both. It's not like they're going different speeds. So how do you define what just occurred, the differences between the two when the time was the same? Can time be relative without the speed of which it's being moved at?
Well,
I have a friend who could explain all of this. He's going to be a theoretical physicist, and he almost got into Stanford. And if he was here, he could explain all of this. He explained to me the entire theory of the universe in a day before, but I can't remember it now.
Okay, we got 1 second. Rob.
Yo.
Okay,
Yeah.
we just want to do a mic test. Have you been in here before?
No, this is my first time in here.
All right, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Rob, and the first thing I want to say right off the bat is I'm like a progressive, but I don't feel like I'm a progressive, right? And I'm a finance major, so if you guys ever have any questions about finance, you know, you can come to me about that, because I think my mission in life is to just explain to people currency, because a lot of people really don't understand the power of currency. And a lot of people just get absorbed and sucked into these crazy, nonsensical, unfounded in fact, conspiracy theories that the Rothschild owned the banking system, the Federal Reserve is this private entity, and they don't even understand CBO, also known as central banking operations or open market operations. They don't even understand any of this kind of stuff.
What are your thoughts on the petrodollar and cryptocurrency?
Okay, petrodollar. Let me explain what the petrodollar is. The way there is even this petrodollar to begin with is because there was agreement among all kinds of countries that they're going to use US dollars to purchase petroleum. That is all a petrodollar is. So, since we also are a sovereign currency and we started to become more of an importing country versus an exporting country, that's how these other countries have to obtain these dollars, because we are the federal government is the sole monopoly issuer of the US dollar. So we have to be buying all of their goods, right? Like we do right now. And that's how they're obtaining our dollar to purchase petroleum. That is it. There's no conspiracy. Same thing like with Jimmy Dore, saying this nonsense about this petrodollar bullshit that's not even founded in any fact. Zero.
Whoa, hold on. Because Jimmy Dore points out that the reason that we're intervening in certain of these Middle Eastern countries is because they want to not use the petrodollar in order to to sell or buy their oil.
Okay, so why don't they just do that?
Well, the U.S. kept intervening.
Right. No. What I'm saying is that these are these old, locked-in Milton Friedman monetarist bullshit ideology that has like infected the entire world. Seriously, I mean, and it's penetrating inside of Europe, because a lot of people over there in Europe were very more progressive and they wanted to help each other and they were all about this stuff. And now it's turning into this, well, I don't want my hard-earned tax dollars going to these poor people. When I hate to break it to you, everybody here, but all of your federal taxes that you pay to the federal government does not fund one goddamn thing the federal government does. So I'm letting you know that right now. I am 100% positive on this. Your federal taxes are deleted out of the system. That is it. They don't go to any program. So I don't like when all these people are talking about that. We got to raise taxes in order to pay for Medicare.
No, our
False.
Our taxes are paying the
False.
interest on the debt.
Zero. What debt? What debt?
The interest on the national.
What debt? The national debt. You want to know what the national debt is? All the money that the federal government has printed into existence, or in this case, keystroked into existence, that bought highways, all of that military crap that you guys are against, right? That, you know, a dollar is a dollar, but if once you buy something and you bought something else, you created an asset. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. You converted that $1 trillion war or that $1 trillion into a war. But it doesn't matter because that is money that we spent on roads, bridges, hospitals, you name it.
All right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, all right. So Broken Carpenter wants to chime in on something, and then I want to know your thoughts on cryptocurrency. All right, go ahead.
I wanted to bounce back the time for this.
Yeah, that's what I want to do too. But we'll let Rob finish up his intro, Broken Carpenter, and then we'll go back.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Right, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so I just want to be here to help guide progressives, because the problem is that the biggest argument between progressives and conservatives is this whole thing about money and how things get funded, when everybody speaks on finances and currency or things as far as the government is concerned, but don't know shit about it. And I just want to be that extended voice to start explaining this.
One last thing before we move on to the time concept. So who would you recommend on where you get a lot of good, or people who pass out a lot of good info that are fellow YouTubers? So
the Real Progressives. That's the site, because they are bringing in people, or they're bringing in all the founders that basically found and understood how our currency actually does work. And so I would say people like Warren Moser, Stephanie Kelton. If you guys don't know who Stephanie Kelton is, if you were a big supporter of Bernie Sanders, that was his chief economic advisor, including Warren Moser was on there. I think he was advising, but not heavily. Bill Black. So, you know, these people know what they're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty cool.
I couldn't hear you, Ben. Sorry.
I just said I found some of their stuff recently. Yeah, pretty good. Like, it's not bad at all.
Okay.
Like, I mean, you know, everybody has the right to. I think everybody has should have their ability to say what they want, and it's just freedom of speech and freedom of thought or whatever. And the people at Real Progressives, it's not bad. It's not bad that he's trying to get a bunch of people together, and it's basically like this right here, which is like, but just a whole bunch of people talking in interviews and things, and that's all cool. The more the merrier, and then there's some good stuff in there too.
All right. Awesome. Welcome, Rob. We're gonna have lively debates with you, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
After hours, we talk about current events. Anything goes. We talk about a lot of different things, but we try to like finish one topic, go on to the next. Sometimes it segues. Thank you, Broken Carpenter.
I was going to talk about time, and in my family, my father, it must have been his German heritage, but he was really anal retentive about his watch and time. So much so that he went to Radio Shack. He bought this. This is a cube that has radio. You know, it has like 3 radio frequencies on it. It gets the atomic clock, and so you can set your clock to Greenwich mean time perfectly, and he did that every fucking day. But time really became important in navigation, because they figured out that if you could figure out at high noon where the sun was and where you were and where the sun was in London or Greenwich or wherever it was, you could figure out latitude. So that's why they built the ship's clock, the chronometer or whatever it is, was to accurately measure time, because there wasn't really an accurate piece. That's why everybody sort of went by the town clock and reset their watches. But an actual to have accuracy to navigate by, you needed more precision. So they built these like large watches in boxes that sort of floated, and it sort of worked so that the rocking of the ship and everything wouldn't mess them up, and then you were able to measure the time when you did your sunshot. So that's why time became more important at a certain point. When they figured out how to measure latitude on seas, that's when it became important. And there's a whole book about it. A woman wrote a great book about it, and I can't remember it.
That was longitude, that first clock with the two arms that waved off to the side. It's still there in a museum. Want to get back to time?
Yes.
I just flipped up a little thing I did for somebody else trying to explain time, because time travel always comes up, and the plot thing that always bothers me in the time travel movies is they always go back to the same exact place. Like they go to a restroom and they go to a toilet and they go back to the same toilet stall 200 years in the future. The thing is it's not a question of when, it's a question of where. 200 years from now, the Earth is way far away.
Yeah.
And if you think about time propagating, we're seeing time propagate in just the 4 dimensions that we're aware of. So if there's a speed of light in our dimension, there's a speed of all the dimensional transfers in the other dimensions. So you would expect, no matter where you go, if you time travel, since you're going to be so far away the other way, if you don't have a means of getting there fast, and you just end up in space no matter what you do. But in some of the projects I've had, the precision gets to be extremely tight. The worst I've ever had to work with was 31 significant digits. And when you start talking about extremely small things that are happening in a very short period of time, you start to look at time a little differently. We were trying to send machine signals, and we were limited in how far away our machinery could be placed, because we couldn't get an electrical signal to travel more than 11 inches in the time that we were dealing with. And it brings all kinds of different problems. We're so used to thinking of everything happening. When a light turns on and something else needs to know it, and if you're working with less than a billionth of a second, that light doesn't travel very far. So when we see light as being on and filling the whole room, when you're talking about extremely fast machinery, one side of the room is dark while the other room is just starting to get illuminated. And when you go the other way, things get weird too. But I've really never had to do anything that lasts a billion years, but I've had to do things that last a billionth of a second.
Wow.
Nuts.
How do you measure a billionth of a second?
Usually whenever you're talking with extremely low rates, you hit it multiple times and go by periodicity rather than distance.
Okay.
So that's where oscilloscopes work. They're not actually seeing an individual wave usually. They're usually seeing how the wave tends to add up over time at a given frequency.
and that's why you have a wave effect on your oscilloscope kind of thing.
Yeah, in electrical engineering, they deal with what we call the time domain as we normally perceive things happening, and the frequency domain where things happen periodically. If something's rotating on a generator, you've got a frequency of 60 hertz, you would tune and look to see what happens in that time. There's an extra, you can switch your mathematical systems to dealing from working in the time domain to dealing in the frequency domain. Usually when I get involved with that math, I turn it over to the electrical engineers.
Now, when we're talking about these small, very, very small measurements of time, does any type of force or energy affect that amount? For example, if does mass affect it? Does speed, I don't know how to say it, if it, vacuum, does it being in a vacuum affect it? Does it being in just normal air, I guess, in normal environment affect it? Does temperature affect it?
Everything happening to everything in the universe affects every little bit of time.
So when we define this measurement of time, do you know the parameters that they use? Do they use the temperature is going to be 62 degrees Fahrenheit? That is it based on? Did they put it in a certain pressurized area or vacuum?
You can pull that up, but again, when you're using this data,
hi again, Kelly.
You go through other changes.
Hi.
When they define the time and you define it for a certain set of conditions, you also have formulas for changing it to meet what condition you're actually working in. So that doesn't mean that you can't measure other temperatures. You have to adjust for measuring other temperatures, other speeds. The thing with time is, on a given particle, the weight and speed of it relative to other particles matters. And the more you try to get into precision, the relativistic effects that we ignore at our speeds become more important as you talk about what's happening. So what normally, when you're running a bandsaw, relativistic forces or changes don't come into effect on your sawdust. Whereas with the particle in the Hadron Collider, they're constantly figuring out, okay, what's the difference between when these two things are moving at each other.
So I'm trying to remember the experiment, but they put an accurate timepiece into a plane and took it up and flew it around, and it slowed down or something, if I remember right. I can't remember the experiment. I just remember it may have been during that, like a talk show with that woman.
During just an airplane, if it was old enough that we were having troubles remembering it, I don't know if back then we had the technology to accurately measure that.
It was just like
spacecraft, yes. If we put something in a spacecraft moving away or from us, moving laterally in front of us doesn't matter as much.
Can I say something? I wanted to read a little short story called "The Sunwalker." It's not a short story. I'm sorry. When I say it's it's less than a page long, so it's just a little thing out of this book called "Voices of Time: A Life and Stories" by Eduardo Galeano. But then I actually had other things. I had some remarks and comments and thoughts about time as well, but I can say that maybe later on. But I think his story is amazing. This little thing is amazing. So I'll just go read it. Gustavo de Melo Mayo called me from the border. Come on up, he said. Don Felix was there. He was just getting in or just leaving. You could never tell which. Neither could you tell his age. While we were putting away a bottle of red wine, he confessed he was 90. Gustavo said he'd subtracted a year or two, but Felix Horario Carbajal had no birth certificate. I never had any idea, so I couldn't lose it. I never had any ID, so I couldn't lose it, he told me while he lit another cigarette and blew a few smoke rings. With no papers and no clothes beyond what he wore, he walked from country to country, from town to town, the length of the century and the breadth of the world. Don Felix left sundials in his wake. Unlike most Uruguayans who can't wait to retire, he still made his living that way. He built Naumanns clocks without mechanisms and sold them in town squares, not to tell time, a custom he considered discourteous, but for the simple pleasure of keeping the sun company on its earthly travels. When we met in the city of Rivera, Don Felix was just starting to feel at home. That had him worried. The temptation to stay was an order to leave. No, he shrieked, banging the table with his childlike hands. There, as everywhere else, he was just passing through. He came in order to leave. He ride from 100 countries and 200 sundials, and he departed whenever he fell in love, fleeing the danger of setting down roots in any bed or abode. For leaving, he preferred dawn. When the sun rose, he'd be on his way. As soon as the doors opened at the train or bus station, Don Felix would put the few bills he managed to save on the counter and say, "As far as this will take me." That's my little story. I just love that story. Anyway, one of my favorites. It's got like 300 stories or something in this little book. But if don't switch from the time topic, because I can say it now, but I have some thoughts about it.
Right.
Time?
Kelly,
Like
I
that.
saw you commenting something. You had a story.
Oh yeah, what's the book called that you were just reading from?
Oh, it's called Voices of Time. It's by Eduardo Galeano.
Yeah, actually, I did want to share a story. I'm not going to stay on long. My head hurts, but it has nothing to do with time. So if you guys want to,
Everything has to do with time.
okay, well, it has to do with my daughter's time at summer camp this week, day camp, but I mean, I can, if you guys want to go around and finish.
Go ahead. You brought it up. We can always go
Okay.
back in time.
Okay.
Time's relative.
Okay. So, really, I just feel like all these great ideas that we have about everything, if people can't be like kind to each other, I don't see how we're going to get any of it done. And I don't know how, I know a lot of you have kids. Maybe, James, do you have like middle school or high schoolers? I can't remember. Yes, okay. So I just like, I never cease to be amazed at the stuff my 12-year-old daughter tells me that she hears from other kids. And so she's at this camp this week. It's just a day camp for 1 week, and it's like a food science cooking thing. And so it's all new kids she doesn't know, and it's at a private school. But anyway, this girl, she's 11, so she's, I guess, rising 6th or 7th grader. They're out on the playground, and out of the blue, this girl just flips off my daughter. Like, just flips her off and calls her a hoe.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like an ongoing struggle for me with these things that pop up, because my daughter is honestly just very kind. Like, she makes me be a better person because she's better than I am. But, it's hard for me because sometimes I want to be like, kick her ass,
Yeah.
Like, somebody's so terrible to her, I don't want her to be a doormat. But anyway, she said, well, I tried to think of like what I did to provoke it. And she said the only thing I can think of was that this girl didn't want another boy, there were only like 2 boys in the class. She didn't want this younger boy to participate. And my daughter said, well, he's part of the group. And she kind of stuck up for him. So she thinks maybe that's what it was. But she's like, I didn't do it in a mean way. So this girl flips her off, calls her a hoe, uses the F word or something else. I can't remember.
Wow.
So my daughter's like in tears. And she's like, I did go to the teacher. And, we have a lot of chats about that because you get labeled a tattletale and all that. But
Which is not a bad thing. If it's
right,
against
right.
something.
Oh wait, I should back up. So I'm sorry, I meant to tell this other part first. So the first day she's just telling me about some of the girls, and she kind of warned me. She's like, "There's this one girl, and I don't know, she's just not very nice." And apparently they were all talking politics and talking about Russia and stuff. And so my daughter's like, well, she started talking about the election was rigged, and she's obviously for Hillary. She's going on about Russia. Anyway, thought that was interesting. So it's not always we have this narrative that it's the racist Trump supporter people that are the bullies. Well, I see a lot of this with like mean girl type behavior where we live. It's this is not Trump town. This is supposedly liberal people, and a lot of, especially the girls, like are very mean and catty and just I don't know. But anyway, so I just wanted to share that story because it's a really difficult thing to deal with. But I think we have a huge problem with kids in schools are being maybe they're seeing how the grown-ups are acting too, but it seems like we have a big, I don't know, a lack of morals, a lack of just being kind to each other. It's all very competitive, and I don't know. So
Reality
interested
TV.
you guys are in this topic.
Reality TV.
What?
Reality TV.
Yeah, it's junk.
Well, that's a huge thing. Oh, and near the end of the school year, there was another instance where this other girl took a picture. You're not going to believe this. This is 7th grade. Took a picture of a girl that had her mouth partly open and drew a penis on it and then spread it all over Instagram.
Wow.
I mean, it's but I don't know. But yeah, I think it is.
I have to chime in. So how?
Yeah, please do. But anyway, sorry, I kind of got told
it's
wrong
about
part
what you're
first.
saying.
But
It's totally about what you're saying. How old was your daughter? You said again, the one that was bullied, that was kind
she's
of
12.
12. Yeah, I'll tell you. When I was a kid, and I was going to school when I was 5, 6 years old, my experience is that the kids were very mean to each other, and I was sounds very much like your daughter. I was very kind and calm and artistic and way more sensitive even then than I am now. I cry easily when people were nasty, and not even to me. If I saw other people being nasty, it made me sad.
Yeah, she's that way.
There was this one girl that just tormented me the whole time I was in grade school. She would steal things from me. She would say nasty things just to be mean. And I remember I even tried turning it around. I would give her gifts, or I would do something nice for her because I figure, well, maybe she's just hurting,
Yeah, we always talk about that. I say you don't know what she's dealing with, or
she was still so mean. And I remember also, just because I was different, I was always artistic. I was always drawing something or doing something creative. And so I got, naturally pummeled a lot for that too. Kids hate that when you're a little different, or if you're really good at something, they will just take the piss out of you. I don't really think it's changed a whole lot, but I do think that technology has acted as an accelerator, because now these damn kids have these ways of tormenting people in even more horrible ways that are not even as obvious. It's a sneaky thing now. They can do it without teachers or anybody knowing, because they're sending mean pictures to people with their damn phones. I mean, maybe this makes me a troglodyte, but if I had a teenage kid, they wouldn't be getting no damn smartphone.
Well, yeah, my daughter.
I'll give them a crappy track phone. Now, if you're in trouble, you can call me, but you ain't doing Snapchatty, Instagrammy. Look at this.
I don't.
Bullshit.
I things have like this have been going around forever. I would think.
Yeah, but sorry, I didn't.
Society and culture. No, it's fine. I like to talk about this. So society and culture makes an impact. And I think one of my favorite books is called Ender's Game. It's about very, very genius kids that
That's
save
my
the
older
Earth.
daughter's favorite book.
Yeah. So, and I'm gonna have to tell my kids to do this. It's when you are picked on, and once they see an opening or they see a reason where they could be mean to you, you don't do anything back. They see how you react. They know they could do it again. What you do is you shut that down fast, and that's what I'm gonna tell my kids to do. So whether it's very confrontational, very angry, or very in your face, or get into them to saying that's if you want to talk about me, talk to right in front of my face. If they back down, you say, yeah, back off. And if you do it again, I'm gonna punch you in your whatever. Like, you pretty much meet resistance with resistance. They're not gonna mess with you again. Bullies, when they beat you up.
Like that.
No, I know. But I think it's things that you have to do. It's just like everyone has been told to turn the other cheek, just like Jesus, whatever. Right? That doesn't work. It just lets them keep taking you down. It's the same reason why America is in this mess as it is, because they're like, all right.
Well, you see, the problem is that in a lot of schools now, if you fight back in self-defense, you might as well have initiated the fight. Like in my school,
that's how I was.
If you got beat up and you fought back, you might as well have initiated it. Like, the only thing you could do was turn the other cheek, or else you were suspended.
No. Here's the thing. I was when I was growing up, my older brother got taught from my father how to fight. So I didn't get to learn how to fight. I got beat up, and I got blamed by my father, and I got in trouble. And so he goes, hey, if you're get into a fight, you better not start it, and you better not fight back. And I always got beat up. The good thing about it is I could take a punch now. Nothing hurts me really. But the thing is, when you are willing to break the rules of getting a bigger punishment, the people who are bullying you, they'll realize that you'll do whatever it takes to get them back, and they are scared. It's the same thing with the Democrats.
I was a tiny, scared little girl. I wasn't going to be punching nobody in the nose. I'm sorry to disagree.
Well,
but
so hang on.
Times. And one day your daughter's going to come home crying, and what you need to do is hug her, not tell her to go kick the kid's ass.
Nope, I didn't say you have to go kick the girl's ass. You just have to confront that right off the bat. Don't let it build, because when you let it build, it gets worse.
That's like shit for even bringing it up. That this kid was like stealing my lunches and all this stuff.
Well,
sorry, I feel like
school system entirely, and we did homeschool, and I never went back to a regular school, and now my psyche is intact, and I can handle that shit.
I mean that's one way, but sorry, I didn't really articulate it that very well before about. I think that it's always.
Let Kelly finish, then Broken Copper.
Sorry, I just sorry, my headache. I'm not putting things very eloquently. So I guess what I was trying to say is not that this hasn't always been going on. Of course, bullying's always been around. I just feel like today we have a whole lot more of, I think, versus say my grandparents' day, and I was raised by them, and so I kind of have, I guess, old school ways of thinking, but regarding I don't know, like good and bad. Think about like our movies today. It's not even like the good guys win,
right?
And it's almost like bad behavior is rewarded. I mean, just look at it in our political system, and look at it in the lack of justice in our society. What just happened with Philando Castile? I mean, it just seems like the worse you act, the more elevated you are. I mean, I bring it back to politics, but Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she does what she does, and she gets a position, on Hillary's campaign. I just think that we have such an epidemic, I think, of like not showing that being good is rewarded, that it's really just kind of like.
Well, the reward right now is being bad and getting away with it.
Well, right. And so I think that's just pervasive in everything. And it just sucks. As a parent, it really sucks to
My ex-husband used to say that when he was a kid, he was growing up, it was like the video games he would play were always like, the knight trying to rescue someone or do something good or save the world from doom. And then it became like Grand Theft Auto, where the point was to like steal a car and beat people up. It's like, what happened there? It's like,
well, I mean, that's a perfect example.
All right.
That is a perfect example, actually.
Broken Carpet, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that your kid's at an age where that some of it could be age specific, because when you're doing that whole switch from elementary to middle school or whatever, and there's all that, but there's also just because of the way social media works, and there's an anonymity and stuff, it has coarsened stuff to a certain degree. But I told my kids, because both of my kids, my wife's 6 foot tall, and I'm big enough that we have big kids, and I told them both, you're going to grow up, you're going to be big, you're going to be bigger than everybody else, and your job is to protect the other people. You don't let people bully nobody, and if it is a big guy, pick something up and kneecap him with it. Don't even fuck around. And honestly, I said, don't fight. Just pick something up and kneecap him. Smack them in the shins with a stick or something. They'll fall down, and they won't come after you again. And if they do, then you find out where the bike is. You bust out all the spokes, and you walk away.
Steve, were you going to say something?
Do you guys know what's the guy's name from Monty Python? Oh, he's very vocal.
Don
Anybody?
Cleese.
So
Yes. He was on somewhere, and he was talking about how he was like really, really tall, like 6 feet tall. He was bigger than everybody else, and he got picked on just because he was different. But he was like, I look back on that now, and I'm like looking down at them. They're picking on me.
So
but yeah,
one of the things is I always had dogs, and I always did a lot of good training with them. And I think Cesar Millan has it right. Despite what you guys think about him and his training, is when a dog does something wrong, if you don't correct it at that moment, the dog thinks it's okay to do it again. So it's same factor for any type of training, whether it's human, dog, or anything else. Is if you let something or someone get away with it the first time and you don't correct it, then it's gonna happen again. Anyways, go ahead, Stevie.
So I was proud of her for going to the teacher, and I forgot this part. So the girl came to apologize, and you'll love this part. So my daughter says, she's like, I'm sorry, it was really hot outside, and I was having a bad day, and I was being kind of salty, and I'm sorry it made you feel that way.
Okay.
So she put it off on her, but my daughter picked up on that, and she was like, okay, sure, whatever. But anyway, I just think that we as a society are, it's American society too. It's just, kind of not sticking up for the little guy, and we have a profound lack of justice right now, I think, in so many areas.
Yeah. Stevie, she was going to want to say something, and then James.
Oh, yeah. You have kids. Talk.
I just said.
Stevie, let Stevie go. Then James, then you, Ben. Sorry.
That's all I'm going to say. That's all I have.
Yeah, like when this is a story my grandma told me. Now, when my aunt and uncle they were young. My aunt's older, and she used to pick on my uncle just relentlessly, and she'd knock him down, just torture him basically. And their dad kept telling him, like, hey, one of these days he's gonna grow up and he's gonna be bigger, and you're not gonna be able to do that anymore. And she kept doing it, and then one day he knocked her ass out, and guess what? She didn't do it anymore. So, but I never could do that when I was a kid. I mean, like, I'd get picked on, and like I was one of those turn the other cheek, and it just like they just kept doing it, and I'd go home and I'd tell my mom about it, and then she's like, oh, well, you should go and you should just kick their ass. And so then I just got to the point where I didn't even tell my mom about it. So it wasn't until I was a full adult that I started taking up for myself.
What is that quote? The way evil wins is if good people do nothing. Anyways, sorry.
It's about society a little bit, and that you got to kind of like think, I guess, your own. I mean, I think that it's good to just like, what is that phrase? Be the change you see, or whatever you want to, and try to, like, my friend says, and his friends used to say, like, can't carpet the world, so you can just carpet your feet. And then he said that along with the only real revolution is the internal one. And but I think that if you try to raise your kids well, and as a society, if like people have the ability, that's why it's not just irrelevant in survival of the fittest. I mean, oh well, it's good for them to not have health insurance, because then it'll teach them that. I mean, I don't know. There's something to be said about like everybody's benefit is everybody's benefit, and that so like if kids are raised a little better, like what the Carpenter was saying about teaching them to like kind of look out for other people, even that's really wonderful, noble things. So it goes.
I think that is pervasive. This not working together as a community to help each other and all that.
But,
so
I mean, it's different philosophy. James, you want to have something to say?
Oh yeah, okay, so I've coached a lot of seasons of basketball and baseball for my kids. I've also surfed a lot and been in the water, and there's these kids every once in a while. I'm talking about the surfing part. I'll be paddling around and I'll catch a wave, and some kid will go, "Oh, you cut me off, you," and they're cussing, swear.
Oh.
They can't be more than like 10 or 11 years old, maybe 9. And I go, "Hey, come over here." He goes, he's looking at me funny, like, what is this old fat man going to do? And I go, "Where's your parents at? I want to go talk to them."
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing is, and when I'm coaching football, basketball, it's the parents. The kids are wonderful.
Yeah.
It's the parents. And the biggest issue in regards to the tree of knowledge, which is a double-edged sword, which is technology, is it's also good for us to be able to search and find information when we need it. But when you give that kind of knowledge to a child in that box with having access to whatever they want, that can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But in regards to the kids and acting the way they are, it's always the parents. I mean, they're a direct reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
I really truly believe that. I mean, there's kids that I've coached that are just they're not very cooperative, not very nice. The same thing with their parents.
Oh yeah.
Usually, I mean, most of the time.
I think there are cases sometimes where it's like both parents are working, so much that they just don't have time, and that's a result of our economics, situation. It's
part of it. Well, part of that then is also on the teachers, which we don't pay enough. Is they spend more time with the kids than parents do, and we can't see what they're doing right or wrong if the teacher's correcting it or not correcting it, or correcting it the way that you want them to correct it. And when you see that behavior at home, you'd have to fix it. But then kids are smart. They start knowing what behavior they can show around you and what behavior they know they can't.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Ariel
it is usually the parents. I would agree with that. Anyway.
Ariel was talking about homeschooling, and we homeschooled our 2 kids, and until middle school, and then they went into school. So it was like really hard. It was really hard on my daughter. My son, he's just big and gregarious, and really, really lovely kid. I mean, he's like the big, super huge. I mean, he fills up doorways and stuff, but he's also just a guy that always has a smile on his face, and I always loved him for that. I mean, since he was little. And my daughter's the exact opposite. My daughter is stern-faced, very driven kind of person, but her feelings are big. Her feelings. My whole family is that way, though. I mean, I cry at freaking commercials.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry. I'm empathetic. My empathy gets the best of me, and it always does that. But kids, man, let them out of your house, and the only thing you can do is just teach them well. And once they're out of your sight, you don't know what the hell they're doing. And I was always worried because of the kind of kid I was. I wasn't so worried about the kind of kid I raised. It was so much as I worried about other kids that were like me that could easily get them to join in with something really dumb, you know. And so it was like and so I got my kids through school. They never did drugs. I mean, it was the most amazing fucking thing in the world. And my son doesn't drink. That probably is living with an alcoholic, but you know, that's another story. But I think that there's a man. Each kid is different, and every parent is different. And like James was saying, parents. I would rather deal with kids than parents. They're easier to deal with
Very
on
true.
a one-on-one. If you walk up to the kid and say, "Listen, don't talk to my kid again.
Yeah.
Don't even look at him." Yeah. And then if the parents come to me, then there's a problem. You know, I mean, you know, because then I'll confront them about it, and I'm just grumpy sometimes. And with my kids, I'm, you know, there's only a few things in life that could get you hurt, and that's one of them. You know, you touch my kids, it's forget about it. I got a shovel. I've got some lime. I'll bury you somewhere, and you'll never be found.
Oh, furry kids. You grumpy goat.
Like, everyone's curious about homeschooling because, like, I don't mean any offense to anybody, but, like, just from, you know, personal experience, like, the homeschool kids that I've talked with are just usually socially awkward. And I say that as, you know, someone like that, but I don't know. Like, they just didn't seem to really fit in anywhere. You know, like, they seem to really struggle with that. And, like, with everything that's going on with the education system, I've been thinking about homeschooling my kids. But then again, like, I want them to be able to, like, function, like, pretty good around people. And they're not going to learn that from me. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do y'all think?
Any thoughts on this?
All right, go ahead, Ariel.
Here's my story. I went to regular schools from kindergarten to second grade. That's when I dealt with a lot of bullying, and I was a really super sensitive little kid. So my mom, she decided, let's give homeschool a try. I was all for it, and so we did it. And the thing that she did is not only she did it for both me and my sister at the time. My sister years later went to public school because she really wanted that. But we would like have field trips with other homeschooled kids, and we would get together in groups and we would do stuff. Then when I got into middle school, 6th and 7th grade, I tried a regular school again. Freaking hated it. I was a lot tougher by then. Myself. I was a lot tougher by then emotionally, but I still hated it because the kids were just assholes. And the teachers were kind of eh. And I wasn't digging it. So we went back to the homeschooling for the rest of my stuff. And
all
honestly,
the way through 12?
What's that?
Was that all the way through high school?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, a big thing that was important, I feel, for me, was because I was such a sensitive person, emotionally, psychically, etc. It did a lot better for me because I feel like if I had gone through the emotional beating up of high school, I don't know, I might have ended up freaking shooting up the school or killing myself or killing someone, or running away to the circus or something would have happened. I don't know if I could have handled it. I don't know. Maybe I could have. I'm probably tougher than I think. But I'm just glad that I didn't have to go through that. Because not only was I able, by the time I was 15, 16, I was like professionally into music. I was getting paid gigs and playing with a Celtic band. And, you know, I was having experiences that other teenagers just weren't. And I was really having a good time and really becoming myself at a young age. So I think that it's about the way you do it. And actually, it's funny, you know, the big trend in the Montessori type schooling. Big thing. And the way that method of teaching goes is that you teach the child the subject when they're ready to learn it. I remember Dr. Denmark. I've talked about her before. She lived to be 114. She was my pediatrician when, you know, all the way through my growing up. But she even said that. She said some 9-year-olds aren't ready to learn math. Some of them just aren't there yet. They haven't developed enough to absorb that stuff. So don't push it on them at that age. Wait until they're ready to absorb it, then teach it to them. They're going to pick it right up. And that's the way that my mom taught us. If we were struggling with a subject, we wouldn't mash it as hard. We'd wait. And then I got older and was like, oh, this is so easy now. So it's the way that we teach this whole standardized schooling, it's a bunch of bunk, and we're forcing things on kids and making them feel stupid because they're not normal. It doesn't mean they're not good at it. It just means that maybe they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
So just a lot of thoughts there. And I wouldn't rule out homeschooling, Stevie. I mean, it might work really well, and you could always try it for a year or for a couple months. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But
something you said was very important, I think, in describing it, is that you were able to develop kind of your sense of self.
Yeah.
Before you had to deal with all that, like, I don't know, people attacking you and all that stuff. So.
Now it kind of rolls off, like attacks roll off, because I'm very fully developed, and I'm just kind of like, now I know what not to worry about. But as a kid,
it sounds like your parents made a point to get you out there and socialize with other kids.
Definitely.
Like, I think that's the problem. Like, here we're definitely more isolated, so you have to make it even more of a effort to make sure that your kids get to play with other kids, And I mean, kids, I would never know. Usually around here, if you meet somebody that's homeschooled, it's like like something's a little off.
Right.
So, like, I would never have known that, and so like that's really good. I'm gonna look into that and see if maybe I can do that, because I just can't trust the schools here. I mean, it's terrible, and they're cutting their funding too. So
Broken Carpenter raised his hand like 2 minutes ago. Let him go.
Oh, sorry. But
no, that's fine. I would. One thing you can do is look into different curriculums. You can get school in a box kind of things, but the other thing is, like, my kids, we had the local school. Actually, we had enough homeschoolers in our area, because mostly they were religious kind of people, but what they did was, our kids were technically enrolled in the school district. They take the money and they put it into a building for homeschoolers so that they could go and learn. Like, my wife taught Spanish there. They taught, science and things, but like, my son did really well socially. So, they both had. The problem with my daughter was, even amongst homeschoolers, she was very smart. And then when she went to school, she was even, it was sort of, she was abnormal, and so that was a hard thing to get over, I like telling the story. She's a little munchkin, like I don't know, 7, 8 years old, and she had been doing math programs on the computer, and we had a friend come over, and she thought, she was going to brag, and she says, "I'm doing algebra right now," and the kid looks at the guy looks at her and says, "Why?" She says, "Y is a variable." That's a math.
So Khan Academy is a great resource. I don't know if anybody that has kids uses that. Khan Academy.
Yeah. So I wanted to go and talk about the social aspect, because I have a good friend of mine who's homeschooled. He hated the high school or junior high and high school that we went to, because he went to kind of a smaller school where I think the class size was like 45 or something, and our class size was like 1,300 when you go into the city, and it's kind of the social skills that everybody's different. When there's a big school, there's a lot of different cliques. You're definitely shunned or avoided, or they don't know anything about you. But I saw a new guy and I was like, "Hey, come on over." Everything was great since then. We're still friends now. But the switching schools, I mean, I think every kid has it in them to figure things out socially and how to fit in, even if they fit outside of things. Like, for example, I was always beat up as a kid ever since when I was 4 years old until I was probably about 9. And this is in the ghettos of Houston, Texas. We were poor. And then my father finally got a job at Boeing when we moved to Seattle, Federal Way, Washington. And the thing is, at that point, I was starting to fight back at the bullies. I was still getting beat up, but I would get some punches in, and they didn't like getting hit. But me, I was so used to getting hit, it didn't matter to me. I just keep going after them. So they avoided me. And so when I went to this new school, some bullies were trying to bully me. So I let them hit me as much as they wanted until I got angry, and they realized that their punches weren't doing anything. And I just kept kicking them and kicking them, and then and they were crying after the first one and just running and telling teachers. And I told the teachers exactly what happened. And the thing is, I got in trouble, but the other kid got in trouble too. And right when we were in the same detention, I guess, I went up to the kid and I said, "Next time I'm not going to stop. I'll do it every day." And this kid was like, he couldn't say anything. He was like, "I'm sorry." So after that, I never had any fight ever again, because I just had that reputation. And it wasn't that I was big and strong at that point. I was just, people knew my boundaries, right?
Where were you saying that, was it a friend of yours that went to a school that only had 40?
Yeah,
kids?
he was in Spokane, Washington,
Oh, okay.
and he moved over to Federal Way, and that had a big junior high school and high school population. And
So was that better for him or worse?
he hated it. It was worse.
Oh.
Then he went back to homeschool.
Sometimes I think I don't know. You have one experience, and maybe for that kid it works, and this other kid it doesn't. My older daughter went to a very highly rated charter school for 5th through 12th grade, and it had the same 45 kids all the way, 5th through 12th grade. So my younger daughter was in that school, and we ended up taking her out, and people were like, "Are you crazy?" Because it has like the best reputation. But the thing was, for my older daughter, it's not so great always. If you have 45 kids and they all get along great, and it's a good group, I'd say good, but not a lot of troublemakers or mean kids, then it's great. But if not, she was like locked in with these same 45 kids for, what was that, 8 years? And there was like nowhere to go. So for my younger daughter, she's having a better experience. Even though there are these bullies, you can kind of get away from them because there are like 200 kids in her grade. So she'll just migrate over somewhere else and can ignore them. Where in the other school, it was a fishbowl. Like everything you did, everybody knew all your business. It was just, so I don't know. I guess it's just depends on the kid, depends on, I don't know, lots of different factors. But
I'm going to say a little something, and I got to go get ready.
Yeah.
Go sleep. Okay, so homeschool, public school, private school. I think it's about the village, and I think it takes a village to raise a child. So some people had great villages, and their immediate surroundings were very supportive, and then some kids don't have that. And then, so the kids are kind of a reflection, like we're a product of how we were raised. And so some of us took a little longer to come around. I still don't understand math, but, I think it's good to have options. And I had kids that were homeschooled that played on our basketball team, and they were great, and they were very sociable, and they were cool. So I think it's just the people that you surround yourself with, and I, that's why I feel good about being with you guys. So I'm gonna go. Aloha.
Aloha, James.
Bye, James. You take care.
Bye, James.
I just realized my battery's
Thanks
going to die.
again.
My daughter is both my kids. They grew up very comfortable around adults and able to speak publicly very comfortably, which was great. I mean, it really paid off. Being able to, my daughter's able to stand in front of her work people and give presentations and stuff, not be freaked out about it. And
I'm the same way, Carpenter. Same way.
Yeah, I mean, she ended up like when she got into public school, and then she went on to, like do great things. She would go and speak to like teachers in school, the school board and stuff, and she was able at a very young age to like pull off things that I couldn't have. Like she would write, prepared remarks and stuff. I mean, she was really good. So, I mean, it's different kids. Different kids, different parents, and I would say, Stevie, if you want to try it, like she said, try it. You can always send them back to school, but the thing about it is, it's like every day. You got to remember it's school every day.
Yep.
But the thing is, right? You spend all that time standing in line and doing, taking turns at school. You got one or two kids and one teacher.
Yeah.
So it's as long as you can get that socialization into them, I think it's a fine thing.
Well, it made me realize my daughter's experience this week. I was like, wow, so much for learning. I mean, she is learning food science stuff, but I feel like she's learning more about like how to deal with these situations, which is kind of crappy. But James is absolutely right. It is about the village, and I think there are so many issues. Like, yes, paying teachers more. There are kids if, like, say, both parents are working, or I have a friend who's a single parent of 3, almost all teenage boys now, and she's struggling, and like she can't afford to put them in sports and things like that to keep them sort of occupied and out of trouble. And so like her middle kid is kind of giving her a lot of trouble. So yeah, it takes a village, and I think there's so much more that we could do with our education system to make all of that better. But I don't know, like all these topics, it seems insurmountable.
Carpenter, I was the same way as your kids. I always gravitated to older people. So I honestly didn't mind being friends with my parents' friends. It's kind of funny, but as a result, I guess the only oddity about me was that I always seem more mature and more grown up than most kids my age. I don't feel like I had a normal childhood, but that's kind of okay with me because I wasn't really a typical kid. I didn't really particularly like other kids that much because I felt like they were so immature and mean and petty. And the other thing I would say is my sister, she went to a little bit of homeschool. And in homeschool, a typical school day was like 3 hours, maybe. That's about it. And I would say that it really screwed my sister up. I really don't have a relationship with her. And the more she went to public school, the meaner she got. She got nasty.
To survive. I mean, that's
exactly
that's
because the kids were so mean, and she got just meaner and meaner. And now she's a very hair trigger person. Like she just argues with you just for nothing. I can't. That's what she learned being around, and it never really changed.
Ebon talks about the boys beating each other up. In a lot of ways, I think that's not as bad because the girls are like, I mean, it goes on for weeks. There's some kind of drama, and I don't know.
No, I like what Louis C.K. said. It's like boys will destroy your property, right? And girls will destroy your mind.
Yeah.
Right?
So true. Oh, so true.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny. Anyway, I hope you guys don't mind. I totally changed the subject, but
no.
I just wanted to tell that story. I know that the guys are not also interested in this, but.
Oh hell, I'm a dad.
I'm sorry.
What are you talking about? I mean, just because we're not female, we actually are parents.
No. I'm sorry. I mean the younger guys that aren't parents yet.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Yeah, not you.
Well, we still have to date women, so we still get what it's like.
Right.
Not only that,
listen and learn.
Chicks dig a guy that likes kids.
I don't want a guy that wants kids.
I said likes kids, not wants kids.
I don't want them to expect me to make a baby. It ain't happening. They can love my bunnies.
Yeah, there you go.
Bunnies, puppies, kitties, anything that doesn't walk on 2 legs.
The fur family.
Yeah, I wonder if there are any particular Congress people, anybody running for office on with the paying teachers more in their platform. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's definitely an important thing, I think.
It's not a very popular position
It
to be
should
in.
be. I mean, like people. I mean, my husband said he would have loved to have been a middle school like science teacher, but there's no way because we can't live on that salary. I think there are people that would do it, but they just can't afford to.
The way
They
it is
have high turnover, and stuff with teachers. I think a lot. Anyway.
Well, at least, especially in school districts where they don't pay well, they're not gonna stay at a school district that doesn't pay well. They'll wait until they get a job at a good school district and get tenure there.
Yeah. Here's the thing: it's all about money getting into politics, and the only way you can get lifted into a position is by money. And the people with money, they don't have kids that go to public school.
Right.
Their kids are going to nice private schools. They're going to fully paid colleges. They get into these Ivy League schools because their money and their influence. All they want to do is take the money away. And maybe this is a good time to chime in, Rob. How much of our money or taxes actually go into schools, public schools?
So if you want to talk about that, there's things that you have to understand about how things actually work, right? So you have to understand that the federal government, their entire business is to spend money. I don't know why people don't understand that concept, right? But the federal government is the issuer of the currency, of the U.S. dollar. We own that unit of account, right? States use currency. They cannot create currency. You have to understand that major distinction between the two things, right?
Yep.
So since states cannot reproduce the U.S. dollar, they have to get it from the government, the federal government, and Congress has to spend new money into existence. That's how it works.
Yep. So
go ahead.
What about state taxes as opposed to
state tax?
taxes?
Okay, yeah. See, remember how I was telling you, because the states are users of the currency. That means they have to raise taxes in order to fund state-run programs.
Yep. So that money is used by the state. It's not,
yes.
Yep.
When it's a state thing, it's done by raising taxes because they can't create dollars. They can't just spend money into existence like that. That's only a power that's given to Congress.
Okay, I've got a question about I live in West Virginia, and they're trying to get rid of state income taxes.
I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that funds all the programs that we use. So they're basically defunding the people, aren't they?
Yes, there is. Even our Congress is starving everybody. Everybody, people are dying every day because Congress is not spending money. Everybody is crying and getting scared about the deficit, right? But nobody ever talks about the surplus. If there's a deficit somewhere, there has to be a surplus somewhere else, right? Wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah.
So the deficit means when the federal government says, okay, we're going to spend, I don't know, $5 trillion in 2018. The deficit is how much they tax. So if they spend $5 trillion into the economy and they tax $3 trillion, the private sector, which is all of us, have $2 trillion that is floating around in the economy. That's the only way any kind of economic activity occurs.
There are other factors, there are other things going on. I mean, like for like a country that has debt to us, or like
wait, I couldn't hear you. You were cutting out. What did you say?
There are other factors than that. I mean, I know there's like some certain banks that are connected with the government that they got their own returns, and then I think there are other, and separately there are like countries that have debts to us. So there's got to be flux and a lot of different factors.
None of that. A bank has nothing to do with the federal government spending. You know what I mean? They have. I mean, they do their own operations. They do whatever they do.
Well,
I think you're trying. Hold on. But hold.
About,
Give me a second. Give me a second.
By the government and like it was like basically, there's a term for it. I just don't know it. There's like a government based or government related bank for like investments and stuff. And I think whenever I was reading the article about that, it was talking about how we have those as well.
Okay, well, there's central banks like the Federal Reserve, and there's monetary policy, which they're responsible for. But Rob is talking about fiscal policy, which the Congress is responsible for.
Yes, exactly. Right. And since the federal government isn't spending money into the economy, that's where we all end up in private debt, meaning like we take out credit cards and personal loans and all of that stuff. Right. And that's where the money, that's where the banks are making it's ridiculous the amount of money they're making, you know, because you got to understand something. When the government spends money into the economy, right, there is no liability there. There is nothing tied to it. But when a bank makes a loan to you, there's an asset and a liability, right? The asset is the money that gets deposited into your account. The liability is you paying it back, right? And so once that loan gets paid off, it becomes zero. And the only thing that gets a profit out of all of this is just the interest, but you're not creating any new net financial assets. Like everybody thinks that, yeah, banks do create money, but they create money that acts like money, but it isn't money.
Yeah, they create credit. They loan money to existence.
One thing I want to talk to you about also, maybe we need to do a segment about this on After Hours, but okay, so the European Union, the EU, and
disaster.
So Germany are the ones that can print their money.
No, they can't. Nobody can print euros. Nobody could print euros.
No, I thought Germany was the sole country that can, but they
No. Okay, but you got to understand something. Like that's the difference between us, our country, and even Britain for that matter, because they have their own currency. Yes. They still use the pound over there, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody's gonna say if they were to leave Britain, that oh my God, it's gonna be an economic collapse over there, blah blah blah. That's all a lie because they have their own currency. They may get economically hurt for a little while because they leave the union, but they're not gonna be hurt forever because they create their own money. You know, yeah, so it's a very different thing, you know. And another thing about that cryptocurrency, I'm against that, period. And the reason why is who controls it? Who controls that currency? Anybody know?
The euro?
No, this cryptocurrency.
Oh, the cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Is that Bitcoin? Is that what you're talking about?
Bitcoin.
Yeah, you're talking about Bitcoin? Who owns that? Who owns that?
Well, the people who, so
the
people
man.
who run the, who's making that noise in the background? TBC? All right. So the ones who own it, well, basically the cryptocurrency you own, whoever owns it. Although the people who keep it running to make sure that the cryptocurrency keeps going is partly the software developers and also the people running the machines that are solving the I forgot what we call it. They're solving the
Bitcoin miners. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, Bitcoin miners, but they're solving these algorithms in order to keep the blockchains going.
All right. So okay. You're getting
that can be centralized. For the idea was it to be not centralized, but
all right, you want this centralized, but like how? Like who is going to govern this? Who's going to get determine who has control of creating this currency?
Well, it's hard to because you don't know where they're at.
Oh no, but see that's the problem. That's what I'm saying. So I am 1,000% against this cryptocurrency nonsense because nobody has control over this. Nobody can say anything. Like just take for example, like what FDR did back in the 30s when he finally took us off the gold standard, right? And he started deficit spending like a madman, and we got out of a depression, right? Mm-hmm. Well, can you do the same thing with this crazy Bitcoin crap?
No, but you can
Exactly.
The thing
Is
fiat currency exists, and it's measured based off of what crypto is based on demand, and so you can move
but like
assets
how
outside of a country, and that's
exactly. So that's why I am 1,000% against it. I am absolutely 100% against it because we have no control over it.
And
we have no control over this. We have no control over the unit of account of this.
And that's fine because if no one used it, it would be worthless. If no one traded it for anything tangible or any type of fiat currency, it would be useless. So basically, its usage is, even though that there is no control over it, it serves a purpose and it works. Because
I don't really know. I can't really see. Here's the problem. I guess is that I can't quantify that, right? Because it's undeterminable how it will function within a country. That cannot fulfill the needs of a country, and it's far more than what you may think it is right now. You know what I mean?
Well,
we have no control over it.
No, here's the thing. It actually is useful for certain countries. Where certain countries, and you saw it in Ireland when Ireland their money was worthless, they transferred a lot of their money into Bitcoin and other alt currencies, and then they were kind of saved from what happened. They moved out with that currency somewhere else because Bitcoins ended up spiking. They saw that a lot of people were buying it. They were selling it for a little higher. That's where the market was. And so the people who bought into it, realizing that their currency was going to be worthless, they were able to keep going and not have to worry about losing their homes, losing their cars, losing everything that they had. So it does
they
serve
may
a
have
purpose.
lucked out on that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I just, again, like I said, I don't, because we have no control over that unit of account, then therefore that to me is deemed useless because if I hold on a second, because if I'm a government, right, and I need to feed homeless people, I need to make sure that medical care is given to everybody. I want to make sure that everybody has a freaking job, has the ability to pay to have some means of shelter. I'm not saying it needs to be some crazy luxurious apartment or anything, but I'm not for that, right? I'm for that kind of stuff. I'm for a federal job guarantee. What is this currency going to do for me that I can't do with the U.S. dollar?
Good night, Ario. Let's take this discussion at another day. It's really late. We usually end it after 3 to 4 hours.
I just real quickly to run economics, just real quickly, just that I think tax
is upside down.
In Oregon, we have no sales tax. And it would be I think it would be way better idea, if anything, to remove a tax on investments or something. People who are investing in businesses or something like that. To remove income tax is ridiculous. But I don't know.
Happy travels.
Yeah, they're trying to.
Night.
Love you.
All right, too. So Rob, we pretty much have this almost every night. After hours is current events and anything goes. Definitely love talking to people about cryptocurrency, and I'm sure you like not talking about it, but you have other perspectives in currency too. So it's glad to have another dynamic in this group. So thank you for joining, Rob.
I was gonna say, I think the biggest problem with Bitcoin is just that all it would take is one big solar flare tomorrow, and all of a sudden, no internet, no computers, no electronics, nothing.
Isn't that the same for other money?
Yeah. I think if we had a big solar flare, I think the last thing we need to worry about is Bitcoin.
Yeah. We better have, I don't know.
Yeah, so anyways, all right, good night, everybody. Thank you,
Good
everyone in
night.
chat.
Good night, everybody.
Tomorrow.
Take care. Have a good one.
Yep. Okay. Good night, everybody.